All right, so we are back on the W.A.D.E concept presented by The Ring. Today, we're going to move out of the influencer boxing scene at least a lot more than we have really ever taken that step on this channel in the future. Starting with our next video, we're going to cover all of the big fights that are coming up on The Ring in the next couple of weeks. I'm talking Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. I'm talking the May 2nd Times Square card, the Big 3 card. I'm talking May 3rd, Canelo. And not to forget, I'm talking about this weekend with Jared Boots Ennis and Imantas Stanionis. So all those big fights we're going to cover. But today I have to issue a response. It feels like 2023 because I've already kind of made this video. But I'm going to make it again because I feel the need to respond one more time to KSI. And I'm only recording this video because I want to set the record straight. I am done beefing. I'm moving on to other things that I want to do in my career, and this feels like it's still lingering. And today it's pretty simple. I'm going to put it to rest. Point blank, period. What do I mean? The breakdown. Let's go. So you guys, if you've been on the channel in the last 2 years, 3 years, however many years, you know there's a bit of an odd back and forth between myself and KSI. And last week it all kind of spilled over. KSI had to pull out of his fight. There was a back and forth on Twitter. It wasn't a shot I was taking at him, but he took the bullet anyway, and things spiraled out of control again. Well, since that time, he's made a video entitled My Boxing Career, where I've seen some clips where he essentially is going to talk about what he thinks he should do with the rest of his career. So let's take a look at it, and I'm just going to let you guys know beforehand, I kind of told you this was coming.
Fat Nick has lost it. Laugh my ass off.
That's crazy. He's doing a Reddit video, and just the Fat Neek thing just continues to follow him. Our Fat Neek has lost it is a wild title for a Reddit post.
Oh, yeah. Actually, let me get the tweet up. So W.A.D.E tweeted this after the fight with me and Dylan Dennis got postponed. He tweeted, also for all the shit that was talked about Dylan Dennis pulling out of this fight, credit where credit is due. He was going to show up. This event was being carried promo-wise by him. Don't agree with that, but anyway. And I get that KSI is sick, but I gotta give Dylan some credit here. He was ready to go. I don't know, like, now you gotta remember, Wade has just been jabbing at me for years, constantly. For me, after having to postpone the fight because I got sick, I was pissed. I was angry because I was training my fucking ass off. You could see that I was training my fucking ass off. So then for me to get this illness, and then I was trying to train through the illness, and I got more ill to the point where I physically couldn't train and I physically couldn't fight. It broke my heart. It broke me because I trained so hard for this one moment and I wasn't able to get this moment, and I felt like I trained for nothing. And I felt like I let so many people down, you know, everyone working at Misfits, all the fighters, all the trainers, etc. I let everyone down, and I'm still trying to do it, but I couldn't. And I'm taking antibiotics and it weren't working. I had to take another set of antibiotics. I'm doing everything just to try and get better. I'm not getting better. It's so frustrating. And bro, like when I had to, you know, tell Mams and everyone else that I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this fight at this date that we were meant to do it. Bro, I broke down, man. I'm there crying, bro. In my room, just crying because, like I said, I felt like I just let everyone down. So then, you know, I go online and I see all this shit, and you know, people just jabbing at me, and it was just Wade, bro. Normally I just ignore it, but it just pissed me off, and I just lost my shit, man.
While it would be very easy for me to continue doing this thing where I point out little pieces of information that JJ's just completely wrong about. For example, number one, no, I didn't say, yeah, this is a great look for Jake and Mike. That's not what I said. In fact, I did say that Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson was a bad idea for Mike. It was not good. Mike should not take the fight and should not have been fighting, and that Jake was going to hurt him very, very badly. Luckily, that didn't happen. And yes, maybe my affiliation with the card was the reason that it felt like I was, in his words, sucking someone off. And yes, I did have a live stream from the card because I was asked to do so, and it was an opportunity for me and my dad to watch Mike Tyson and other fighters on that card. In fact, my dad's favorite fight of the night wasn't Jake and Mike. It was actually Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, as is now being heralded the people's main event from that card. So sure, if JJ sees it as a, why aren't you as tough on Jake as you are on me type of thing, okay. But at the same time, I do at least try my best to be as unbiased as I can be. And I genuinely mean that. People aren't going to believe it, but it is what it is. I do try that. And in all earnestness, the tweet that he got upset about was not a shot at JJ. And when he says I take shots at him, I disagree. I think if anything, especially in the case of JJ, now listen, I'm not going to say I'm innocent, that I've never taken a shot at someone. But in his case, I think I've been more than charitable with KSI. In fact, the shots I've taken at him have been return fire for the things that he's said about me. If I've criticized him as a boxer, if I've said that I didn't agree with a certain fight, or I didn't think that he was improving at the same rate as a Jake Paul or somebody else that I would talk about normally, those are just critical things, opinion-based from a commentator that, of course, and we've been through this on this channel, I'm going to say. And that's out of his control. And maybe that's a big problem for him. But the only things that I've ever taken shots at him personally over are when the personal shots were thrown my way to begin with. And I say all that just for clarification, because he talks about me taking jabs for years. That's not been the case. Have I been critical of some things that JJ's done? For sure. Have I been critical of things Jake's done? For sure. Have I been critical of things that Logan Paul's done? For sure. Ryan Garcia? For sure. Conor McGregor? For sure. John Jones? For sure. And that's just a short list. I have opinions on combat sports and combat sports athletes, and I'm going to say that. But this reaction from him, right? The telling of all of the struggles that went into this fight, I knew that. And I said that. When the fight was canceled and he was sick and he was coughing and he was, talking about how hard it was for him, I was one of the first people that said, damn, this sucks. No one can control this. A sickness is not something that JJ's faking. And obviously, it happens in combat sports. On to the next one. My only goal with that tweet was to give Dillon Danis a little bit of credit, because the entire internet constantly had shat all over the guy, myself included. This was a gun pointed at me to say, hey, you know what? For all the things I and other people said, and it wasn't even including JJ, but obviously he took it that way, I do think Dillon deserves some credit for this time doing the job he said he was going to do, or at least being in position to do that. That's all. But this video, when I watched this part, and I think there's more here that we'll get into in a second, but this part of the video, as a person-to-person thing to JJ, because I think this is the kind of last time he talks about me, I just want to say this. JJ, I don't hate you. I never have. In fact, I think I've said in videos before, when I met you, was super impressed by you. Still am. Your work ethic, your ability to fight, your ability to do music, sidemen, all of these things. Obviously, things broke the way they did because I do have opinions that you may not agree with, and how you handled them publicly and how you spoke to me publicly were, I thought, the beginning point of issues between you and I. And since then, there hasn't really been anything personal other than my personal takes on your boxing career. But what I'm starting to see out of that video alone, just that little portion of the video, was just the emotional, uncomfortable, frustrated look on JJ's face. And honestly, no joke, I'm not even trying to troll. It looked like he was going to cry, explaining all the things that went down for this fight not to go over the way it should have. And to me, that's sad. Not in a, oh, look how embarrassing this is way, but no, like genuinely empathizing for KSI. That's a sad thing. Regardless of how he perceives my relationship with Jake or him or influencer, any of that, I'm kind of done beefing. And as a human, I just look at the guy and go, man, yeah, he put a lot of pressure on himself here, and it didn't work out the way he wanted, and that hasn't happened a lot for JJ, so he's having a hard time dealing with it, and I just want to clear it up and make sure you guys know that sucks, man. And I genuinely don't like seeing him like that, and I don't even know him super well. So maybe in retrospect, and I kind of tweeted the same thing, maybe I should have realized that even if I didn't have a close-knit personal relationship with this guy, that it didn't mean he didn't take my words to heart, and that they wouldn't affect him more than even I understood they would. So in that respect, I'll man up and say, you know what? My bad. I never meant to come across as hateful toward JJ. Whether it was jokes or anything like that, I honestly never meant to come across like I hated the guy or wanted things to go badly for him. Someone said this on Twitter in the replies, and this kind of stuck with me. He said, he likes you a lot more than you like him. That's why your words hurt more than his do to you. I don't hate JJ. Obviously, I'm not super close with him or have any sort of personal relationship with him. But if that's the case, and maybe I've just been thinking about this thing all wrong, then again, my bad. I never thought of it like that. And I don't know if that's the case. But if it is, then yeah, like I said, in retrospect, maybe I should realize how much the stuff I was saying, whether I meant them to be personal shots or just, either constructive or just regular criticism of his boxing journey, training, style, fights, whatever, maybe I should have realized that they could have affected him a lot more than even I understood or gave any sort of credence to. And I say all that just because I want to wrap this kind of beef thing up by saying I don't hate JJ, and I never have, and I never will. Again, I'm impressed by the guy's work ethic, by what he's made out of himself from nothing, literally nothing. to become an icon in the UK, and the success and all the stuff he's done. I do think the guy has a good heart. I just think he's a super emotional guy, wears his heart on his sleeve, and I just think that sometimes he doesn't stop to think, or maybe he doesn't care, but regardless, that the message he is receiving and the way he's deciphering it is the same way that the message was sent. And again, I don't know what's going to happen with JJ next. We're about to watch the second part of this clip where he talks about the rest of his boxing career. I don't know what he does next, but I'll tell you this, I hope for the best for whatever he does, whether that's boxing, music, Sidemen, Britain's Got Talent, whatever. I want him to succeed. I've wanted influencer boxing to succeed. Influencer boxing put me in a position to do this, that. I can only be grateful for it. So, yeah, I don't have any ill will toward KSI, and regardless how he feels, what he thinks, I genuinely want the best for him. Especially, it seems like right now where nothing on the boxing side is going his way. He could use a win. And JJ, if you're watching this, I don't just mean in the ring. But with that being said, it may not be in the ring because he is having some reservations on fighting. Let's take a look at what else he had to say.
I know how the internet works. I know how this game goes. If I tried to fight and managed to get into the ring and had a shit performance, no one would care that I was ill. No one would care that I was sick. Everyone would have just looked at the performance and said, wow, KSI struggled against Dylan Dennis. He's ass. He's not that good, actually. Maybe he's overhyped. Like, that's just it. People, you're only as good as your last performance. And
to be fair, he knows that because he has seen the combat sports game, and this has happened. It happened with the guy across the aisle, Jake Paul, in the Tommy Fury fight. It's happened with fighters for years that they go into a fight not 100%, and they come out of it, even if they win or potentially they lose, and it's not good. It does leave the fight fans a bit deflated, like, we thought you were better than you were. This changes everything type of thing. And again, if JJ was sick and he had to pull out of the fight, like that happens. It's combat sports. It is what it is. We move on.
So, screw it. I don't care what anyone says. I need to just focus on me, and I need to get better before I even make any decision about what I'm going to do in the future. So, that's where I'm at right now. In terms of when I'm going to be fighting next, honestly, I don't know. There's reasons why I can't say when I could fight next. A lot of the reasons are above me. There's also other things that need to be sorted. But yeah, in terms of my boxing situation, it's been unlucky. It's been like Arsenal. We've been so unlucky.
Mo is editing for him. He said, I don't know about that.
With the amount of injuries that we've had, the amount of problems and situations that we've ended up in with the red cards, etc. Like, that's how I feel. I've just been unlucky with the 2 fights in one night and then getting injured. Or even back when I was fighting Joe Fournier and I, knocked him out with my forearm. Or me losing to Tommy Fury when I shouldn't have lost. Like, it's just been unlucky. Or even, going back to me fighting FaZe Temper when I was meant to be fighting Dylan Dennis. I didn't want to be fighting Temper. I could even go back to me doing the 2 fights in one night. Me versus Swarms wasn't meant to be a thing. Me versus Pineda wasn't.
I really wish they still had the poster of Swarms with his t-shirt on. I would have died laughing at that. KSI's talking about how unlucky he has been, and to a degree, he's right. He has been unlucky with fighter pullouts, scheduling, things that have happened that are not under his control, like it was supposed to be Alex Wasabi. He got hurt 2v1, although KSI did react a little odd to Alex getting hurt, and I think that's kind of where all the irony comes back to him being hurt. But yes, it wasn't his fault for that. It wasn't his fault that Dylan pulled out of their first fight and he had to fight Temper. And by the way, he won. The whole Joe Fournier thing, I don't even know what you say about that. He hit him with his elbow. It was unintentional. It clearly wasn't on purpose. Just an odd thing. And yeah, it's kind of unlucky for the company that something like that happened. You can argue it's a lack of, proper technique to throw that punch, but it's more a freak accident than anything else that he hit Joe with his forearm instead of his fist. I mean, he was very close to hitting him with his fist. And as far as being unlucky in the Tommy Fury fight, I don't know if you can claim that for that one. Yeah, I thought that fight should have been a draw. Watching it back, I can see where Tommy got the victory, but it's not a stroke of bad luck. It's more of a eye-opening experience, or at least I would think so. Like, okay, this is where you met a roadblock, and how do you overcome that, right? How do things get better? How do you change to become better than that? It's not about bad luck. It's more about changing and becoming better. That's the way I look at the Tommy Fury fight. Using it as motivation to become better. And again, with the Dylan Dennis fight, yeah, you can call it unlucky that KSI got sick, but you can also look at, the choices made while he was sick to continue to try to train through. And again, credit to him. That's the fortitude, the will to keep going, all of that. But sometimes you got to be smarter than to continually break your body down and overtrain and put yourself in really bad positions so that you can't recover and then go into the fight healthy, or at least somewhat healthy. So yeah, some of it unlucky, some of it decision making, some of it adjusting to the levels rising in boxing. I know the way KSI is looking at it, but at the end of the day, it's more than just bad luck. You do have to take some responsibility for some of the things just to get better, right? Just to continue boxing. If that's something KSI wants to do, which I am not so sure it is.
My boxing career, since I've come back, has just been problem after problem after problem, and just being unlucky over and over and over and over again. And it's a shame. It's a shame, and it's frustrating, and I know how my fans feel. How do you think I feel? Like the amount of stress that I've gone through the past few years, even with Misfits in general, like it's been stressful. Just trying to, you know, make sure everyone is doing well, make sure everyone gets something out of the scene. It's stressful. I feel like I've aged in these 2.5 years of Misfits being created. So where am I in terms of boxing? I don't know. I don't know. Am I gonna retire? I don't know. You know, am I gonna fight again? I don't know. There's just so many things that are just getting in the way. I don't know if any of that made sense, or maybe I just said a whole lot of nothing. In terms of boxing, well, 2022 to now, it's just been complicated. Unlucky, sad.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, he's right. It has been very problematic, his entire boxing comeback. Now, you know, Misfits, I think, is a net good in that comeback. I think it's given people a lot of opportunities, myself included, and I think it's been a way for people to reinvent themselves in some cases. Content creators that aren't necessarily thriving in the chosen content they used to create, coming over and reinventing and becoming something else. Slim, Salt Poppy, Gib, etc. And in that case, KSI deserves a thank you. Right? I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. Like, yes, he should get a thank you from people like me, by the way, thank you, and others that did benefit from Misfits being around. And I don't think he's asking for that there. I'm just saying that is a big important thing that's being missed out. While everything else was complicated and it's stressful, and trust, I believe him when he says he's aging because of the stress that Misfits is causing. I get it. I'm not obviously in the weeds of it, but I can understand that's probably ridiculously stressful to not only be a fighter, but also be the CEO. Which is why when I see him talking like this, when I see how excited he is about other stuff, I just watched him on stream today previewing a new song that he's going to bring out, and I've seen him, you know, more excited about the Prime. He's got the Baller thing, the soccer league that he's doing. I think all of these things are a little more interesting to him right now, and they don't involve him breaking his back every day trying to go and train and putting himself through massive stress on his body, just physical stress that leads to mental stress. I'm going to tell you guys, I said this over on the breakdown with Sensei, I think it's more likely than not that KSI is either going to take a long break or he might be done. And I tried to tell you guys this a couple of weeks ago. When you put so much effort into something and it doesn't go the way you planned, and then you try to pick yourself back up and it doesn't go the way you planned again, or you have this many problems, or X, Y, and Z, it potentially becomes more of a frivolous venture to continue doing just because you said you would do it, or just because you want to do it. When in reality, the want that KSI has for boxing, the desire, is, at least physically from what I see, evaporating very quickly. He seems to just not be super concerned with doing it. There doesn't seem to be a fire behind it. I want to get that loss back from Tommy Fury. I want to go through another training camp and reschedule that Dylan Dennis fight. Unless the name is Jake Paul across from KSI, it just doesn't seem like he wants to do it. And again, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. That's okay, and that may even be a good thing, because ultimately, a lot of you guys that are fans of this channel are fans of KSI's, and I think for you, you want to see him happy, because when he is happy, when he is doing what he wants to do, the content is better for it. You can see how much more engaged he is, and things start to build and prosper from it. If you are, as they say, one cheek in this thing, aka half-assing boxing, it's not going to work out. You're not going to win a fight. You could potentially get really hurt and really damage yourself in ways that aren't recoverable. And I know we always talk about it, but you really just can't play this sport. You're fully in or you're fully out. And I think right now, KSI is slowly kind of looking at the scene and potentially moving fully out. But that's where I'll leave it, honestly, because I think that's all that really needs to be said. I don't need to drag this out any further. I wanted to do this video to make it very clear and to hopefully kill all this beef talk. I have no ill will toward JJ. If he does toward me, that's fine. I still want him to do what's best for him. I still want Misfits to thrive. I still want all of the people that get opportunities because of that to get those same opportunities. I just think it's silly because he's right. I know how the internet works as well, and things get clipped and sent, and out of context sentences mean a little more when you're a little bit more emotional about things, and I just don't want to do it anymore. In fact, I'll put the olive branch out there. If KSI ever wants to sit down and have a full-on conversation about it on camera, off, I'm here. If he doesn't, appreciate the opportunities, JJ. Thank you for helping me break through. But this is where I pick up the shovel and bury this beef. It's over, at least on this side. So that's my response to KSI. You guys let me know what you think down below. And stay tuned because this week we have content coming out with the man himself, True Jordy. That's an exclusive here. We have the ring card, Jared Boots Ennis and Imanta Stanionis going at it for some gold in the 147-pound division. We're going to be live for that on Saturday, presented by The Ring, so you guys don't want to miss that one. And yeah, guys, we're on our own new journey, so jump on the train now before it gets too full. And what happens next in the wild, wild world of combat sports, I don't have those answers. But I just wanted to get on here one last time and say I'm done with the beef. JJ, I want nothing but the best for you, man. Genuine. And for the rest of you guys, I love you. I'll see you next time.